wearing the flag that causes about a trade tower a week in Afghanistan. How do you feel about that?
I guess I could answer that in that I don't believe that murder justifies mayhem.
So, I mean, that is mayhem. I mean, does it only count if it's a white supremacist, like yourself, to get killed, or is it when brown people die from drone strikes?
The U.S. government has got many sins to answer for. It's corrupt in many ways, but I don't believe that justifies the corruption that I see in the people reacting to it.
Well, the people reacting, obviously, is the corruption, and the people are the ones the government's supposed to answer to, and the fact of the matter that they don't, and the fact of the matter they never did, and the fact of the matter that this Trump Nazi Germany by all accounts.
I don't dispute that the government has many indicators that would show that it's got fascist tendencies, but
then why would you? Unless you were a fascist, why would you be friend of the courts and rocking your red, white, and blue unless you were a fascist? And you realize it has fascist tendencies, and that 100 million natives were lost, and 50 million black folks, and the numbers just keep piling on. It makes Nazi Germany look like day camp Disneyland bullshit in comparison. Like how do you deal with that contradiction in your belief system? I'm sure you're anti-Nazi, or are you?
I've read the Declaration of Independence. It's a marvelous document. I believe in it.
For white men, it only applied to white men that own property.
I don't believe that's true.
I mean, it's fact. You can look it up in history. You read a history book, you know that, right?
Yeah,
that's like history that you can even find in regular schools. Not even have to search or go to college to find that out.
No, there's the history of the U.S. is replete with racism, with genocide, all of those things. The U.S. has murdered many people. That's a fact.
And then how do you justify standing up for a system and being on the side of a system that does that? Because
I don't defend that.
Well, you do if you don't when you come against people who are fighting against that, no matter what it is and what way, then you are defending that. You are fighting for that. That's
well,
exactly
I have a theory of government, unlike some of your friends, and I know what government is supposed to accomplish, ideally. And
what is government supposed to accomplish?
It's supposed to prevent force and fraud, and provide for the national defense, which would include the environment if anybody really thought about it.
But the government is controlling. People are the one that implement it or not. You can go historically and show that. Democracy is not a system you sit in. Democracy is a lie to you. Democracy, if you go by the even definition of it, this is nothing but a despotic government that needs to be removed. And if you think that you could sit there and change a despotic government from the inside, then it seems
how do you propose to do that?
I mean, there are many ways.
Sure, there are many ways. How do you propose to do it?
I propose to organize and become self-sufficient, and then make whatever stands.
Maybe we could accomplish it by living our lives like we were already free.
Well, that sounds good from a person that has a lot of privilege, and obviously.
You think I have a lot of privileges?
I mean, you talk a good game about living a lifestyle free, but you don't know what it is to grow up in my neighborhood and grow up being black with these pigs running around.
I've never been black. Have you ever been homeless?
Yeah, I've been homeless.
Yeah, well, so have I.
So what?
And I'm not black, but my background's poor white trash. You know what that is?
Yeah, your background might be poor white trash.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is you still don't get your head cracked the way a poor black person would. And you can say whatever you want to say about it. That's reality, and the facts show that.
You'd have to wear my shoes.
The number of the people in prison.
You don't think I've ever had my head cracked by the man?
You don't know what it's like to have it where the police are preying in your fucking neighborhood every day. They're preying on you all day long. You do not know what that's like. And you speak of because you've had a couple interactions.
You can look at
flag,
me.
which stands for this same thing that cracks your head open. So you're either insane by a lot of people's standards, doing the same thing over and over again but expecting different results, supporting the same people over and over again and expecting different results. What is that, man? That's insanity, right?
I think, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. That's right. Yeah.
Psychology. psychology point of
view. That's true.
So like, why would you support something that is obviously busting your head? You expect different results. Like, I'm gonna continue to support it. I'm gonna continue to fight against the people who are standing up against the oppression that they're facing, instead of fighting against the person whom they're oppressing, right? And say, look at me, I rock the oppressor's flag on my neck. And how is that not insanity? How are you saying you're sane to support that when you know what it does? You're saying, you tell me you know everything it does.
Well, you just got done saying doing the same thing over and over again. I recognize violence. I know all about violence. And it doesn't matter what color flag or political pretext you use. The violence is still violent. Yeah.
Violence is a force of nature, and the violence and the using to be exploited upon people are the problem. But then instead you stand up for the people using it to exploit people versus the people who are using retribution, which is not even violence, self-defense, defend themselves. Now, if you want to take self-defense as violence, sure, I'll take that as violent. Self-defense can be violent. If people are trying to defend themselves against the oppression of the system, you're saying that is what's wrong, that shows like you're either a fascist or insane. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I'll say most Americans are straight up fascists. That's why they talk about on threads how they would just shot everybody. So, I mean, I just want to know which one are you, or are you just confused and lost?
It's false dichotomy.
No, it's not a false dichotomy.
Yeah, a false not economy, dichotomy.
I said that.
Okay, I didn't hear you.
Okay.
There's a lot of street noise.
Okay. So, how is it a false dichotomy when you admit you know all the things this does, but yet you say that this violence is violence? I mean, and actually you argue...
You're trying to argue there's good violence and bad violence, right?
I'm trying to argue that violence is a force of nature, oppression was wrong. Exploitation is what's wrong. Violence is a force of nature that until someone got too scared and you was like, oh, if I pick a bigger sword, then I can exploit this person who would normally whip my ass. Like, yeah, I mean, that's the history of like Europe.
Even if I subscribe...
That's the history of America.
Even if I accepted...
Western world in general.
Even if I accepted that violence could be a good thing.
So are you a pacifist?
Well, no, I'm not actually.
then okay, the violence is not a good thing, but you're not a pacifist.
No, but even if I bought your argument that the violence that some of maybe people you know engage in is a positive thing, I would criticize it on this basis. And it's just common sense. I don't need to be a genius to figure this out. If you're going to gouge the bear's eye, you'd better make sure that the stick is longer than the bear's arm, and you guys don't have a stick that long.
Well, the thing is, like, but you're choosing to be a part of the bear's claw. What does that mean? And actually, I would rather use...
You think these guys like me in there? They won't let me in that courtroom. You see all the mainstream media going in there? When I try to go into that courtroom with my camera, they throw me right out. They're not my pals.
But you argue from the standpoint of them. You know what I mean?
No, I'm not arguing from them. I'm arguing from the standpoint of us. We have rights. Many of the people that you have an affinity for deny the existence of rights. Because you say, oh, it comes from government. No, it's inalienable. You're born with them. When you were born, you had certain rights.
If you actually read up any of the things you're criticizing, it's all about rights and then self-power.
Well,
autonomy is actually all about people exercising all their rights.
That's right.
Not getting it taken away. That's right. The third thing that you want to criticize is anarchy. That's what that means. That everybody's democratically and together, or consensus-based, or different ways to communicate with each other. So everybody's rights is
what I see.
That cannot be held in this system, which is despotic, which is the same one you're wearing around your flag. It's always you wear it as a flag around your neck. And it's always been despotic. It's never not been despotic.
That's not true.
When was it not centralized? When was the power not centralized?
I would say that there are many instances where the U.S. has actually tried to stand up for the rights of oppressed people.
When?
World War II.
World War II?
Mm-hmm.
Really? Okay, so World War II. Okay, so why didn't they move against Hitler when he was run up on France until he got to Europe? Why was it like?
Because they were chicken shit.
Why did Hitler get all his ideas from the eugenics programs that the U.S. implemented?
That's a fact.
Okay, and I concede that. Exactly like you point out, final solution of the Indian problem.
Yeah.
What
No,
inspired genocide.
Hitler got the idea from
so
right here in
World
the
War II,
U.S.
So, if you were to give kudos to any country, would it not be more historically correct to give the kudos to Russia, who did most of the fighting and really has toppled Germany?
You mean like Stalin?
Yeah, like Stalin's crazy fucking ass, insane ass that I would never support in my life, to clarify so you can't misuse my word. But wouldn't he, about all empires, which is not any worse than fucking the U.S., than being real, they were just as bad as each other, except Stalin